Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time on Friday to hop in. I'm really excited about this webinar. I've met with Erin a few different times, and she's always been a really great inspiration and, just left me feeling excited every time we ended a call. So I'm happy that we're able to be here together today and to share with all of you what Erin has been working on. My name's Tanae Greenhood. I'm here with ExPrep, and I actually was an accounting educator before I joined the ExPrep team. So I became so passionate about what ExPrep was doing and how they were innovating and providing solutions to professors that I actually jumped ships and joined the ExPrep team. So I am very passionate about accounting, about education, and of course innovating as well. So I'm excited to be here, like I said. And I have the honor of introducing Erin to all of you. So Erin's been an educator for 9 years in LA and also has a private accounting practice as well, and has most recently become the founder and CEO of StackerU, which is an agile digital course publisher creating workforce aligned courses. And what's really exciting about that is that they're able to innovate and meet the workforce needs and move as quickly as the workforce, which is really cool and exciting. So I'm going to let her really tell you all the details about that, but I'm excited to be able to host her. So to go ahead and get us started, Erin, would you mind just jumping in and kind of sharing the background of what led you down the path of wanting to digitize your curriculum and the solution, the StackerU that you created to be able to digitize at scale?
Yeah, so thank you everyone, and thank you Tanae. I'm Erin Steinberger. I'm a CPA and MBA, and I teach on the accounting degree track at Santa Monica College in California. And I'm also the founder of StackerU. And so from 2018 through 2020, 2021, I was half teaching and half running a regional project for our 19 colleges in LA called Strategy, Innovation, and Marketing. We were looking to redesign education for career education courses, and we did extensive research throughout the LA area, and we effectively heard with one of the best research teams that education wasn't working for people and the design wasn't working for students. They needed obviously more flexibility, but we're also dealing with Gen Z, which is the TikTok influencer, Instagram group who wants a different experience. And, I think a lot of traditional publisher content tends to feel dated, and it probably is dated. As accountants, we're like, you probably recycled and resold this for the last 10 years, especially the graphics, if you know what I'm talking about. But there are pieces that are working really well for us. We do use publisher content. And so it's just this idea that we needed to bring in different types of content, have more modular pieces so we could customize a little bit more and maybe modernize for today's needs. And so I started piloting and testing after that project in polling my classes and then piloting and testing different design concepts and ideas to see if I could drive retention and engagement in the classroom. And I did start to drive, retention and completion. And so then I wanted to expand and have more flexibility with the tools that I was using. And I couldn't really do that within Canvas, or our college doesn't really support anything. So I went out and started a company basically so I could innovate and test further and really push the boundaries, I call it. So that was the reason I started digitizing. Was it was student centered and driven by student need.
Great, thank you. So
Yeah.
would you mind then telling us about, I know you just launched your first class, I believe, within StackerU. So can you tell us more about that class and what inspired you to create it and kind of what's included in that class?
Yeah, so I used the platform initially to digitize the existing principles and managerial accounting courses, and then use those learnings to realize that I wanted to create my own course and self-publish because students were asking me for a course that was teaching them how to manage their side hustles for accounting, and especially at the community college, a lot of our students have TikTok shops, Etsy stores, Shopify stores. So I also have my accounting practice, and that was something I was teaching my accounting clients. I have a lot of younger accounting clients. And so they heard me talking about it and asked me to turn it into a college course. And since it didn't exist with the publishers, I just thought, well, I can use my platform and start creating the course and authoring it in there, plus writing the book, etc. So that's where it started. And then the missing piece was, I really felt like if you're an entrepreneur, you need to build, a cash flow budget at a minimum to see if you have, the cash to sustain your business. And so that was kind of the full course, but I was missing that piece, the last piece, which was an Excel budget.
Okay, cool. So when we had that very first conversation, you had said that you've partnered with all these different technology
Yes.
pieces. So can you tell us a little bit more about those technology pieces? But then what was exciting to me was that you said we were the missing piece. The
Yeah.
XPrep
Yeah.
is what was able to bring everything full circle and that cash flow budget, like we can grade that for you. So can you explain a little bit about that technology that you're using and how
Yeah.
it is that XPrep was able to fill in the gap to bring your whole project full circle?
Sure, yeah. So in my experience, setting up new clients for their businesses, I knew that they're going to need QuickBooks or Xero. So I partnered with QuickBooks and Xero to be able to modularize certain pieces of content, like creating an invoice, paying for it, or setting up customers, setting up your products, stuff that we do teach in our QuickBooks class. But I didn't need the entire QuickBooks class because a lot of times that's focused on the tool and not necessarily the tool within a context. And so I think that drives some gaps, right, in terms of it being useful and applicable to the real world. So I wanted to create my own modular content. And then I also brought in, ADP Paychecks, Gusto for payroll, getting students an understanding of who's out there. As an entrepreneur, you're not going to do everything yourself. You're going to look for those pieces that you need and plug and play. And it also is nice because, our payroll courses also lack the technology integration where you actually get to see what it looks like. And we teach a lot of the sort of what I say, like, almost it's an outdated theory way of teaching it, but really like without this visual of like what does that actually look like, and those are driving those workforce gaps. So those were a lot of the pieces I brought in to kind of modernize and close the technology gap. And then yeah, the last piece was like, I really want to build this budget, and it was missing because it didn't exist, the ability to auto grade Excel. So at the community colleges, we teach anywhere between 180 to 225 students, no assistants or TAs, and so we do rely on technology and automation for our grading, so that we can serve at scale.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the budget assignment that you did create for this class then and what
Yeah.
your vision was and how XPrep made that come to life?
Yeah, so the vision was the course is called Accounting for Entrepreneurs. Again, teaching students to manage their side hustles, and I thought it would be fun to do a cash flow budget for a Shopify print on demand store. And if you don't know what Shopify is, it's an e-commerce platform where you can sell, mostly it's built for products, but you could do a lot of things on there. And so this was for selling print on demand, which means, as for the accountants out there, you don't carry inventory, which is pretty awesome. So it's a lower cash flow model. And so really, it's not an accrual based business, which is interesting because normally a merchandise business would be accrual based, but it's cash based because you're not carrying the inventory. So you qualify for that. And so you can really start quickly, which is why a lot of our students have set up shop pretty quickly because they don't have to manage inventory. And so what it allows you to do is really serve as the sales and marketing and design component, upload your concepts onto t-shirts. Actually, this is how I've created my StackerU t-shirt. I, through research, set up my own Shopify and print on demand store. Hats, whatever you want. They have like athletic gear. They're partnering with Adidas. It's actually really cool. And so you can set everything up, and then it will plug into a network of printers who will print your designs on the t-shirt or on the bag or on whatever the swag is and ship it out for you. And so you're not having to manage any inventory. And the best part too is it will allow you to have every size, every color, so you really can compete at a level that has not been possible in the past. So that's, I think, why students are, really realizing that, it's the democratization of opportunity and they're taking advantage, which is great. And so the last piece was, I didn't want to leave students without the ability to understand how to at least put together a basic cash budget with, the idea of like, here's your costs, here's some sales data. So I just made it up because I didn't want people to have to make it up since you're just learning how to set up a business. Thought that was a little overwhelming. So I provided the parameters, I provided kind of the basic cost structure, but based on my Shopify print on demand store, and then created the template. And and it basically, you had to, with the parameters in the project given, you had to fill in the template for the cash flow budget for January through December for the first 12 months. And then I wanted that to be automatically graded because it would be hard for me to manually grade given all the other assignments and courses I'm teaching. And so that's where XPrep came in and really solved that piece for me, and that was great.
Okay. And so so we're providing that grading, and then of course that also makes it scalable for
Yes.
you, which is exciting because that's part of your plan, right? It's not just at this at the community college, but to be able to take that
Yes.
wider.
Yep.
So if you want, do you want me to go ahead and share my screen and kind of demonstrate your assignment, what that would look like for
Yeah,
students?
that would be great.
Okay, let me share my screen here. And while I'm getting this pulled up, we're going to launch a quick survey. So that'll be popping up. And if you want to go ahead and answer that, then that'll give us a chance to have a little bit more interactive kind of Q&A at the end of the session. And then we're still answering the survey, right? Now that I shared my screen, my view of Zoom changed a little bit. So I want to make sure everyone's not waiting on me.
I think you're good today because the
Okay.
survey popped up as a pop-up on top of the screen. So,
Okay. All right. So
yeah.
we can go ahead. I didn't,
Hmm.
sorry. Thank you for that clarification.
Yes,
All
yeah.
right. So we're here in the ExPrep portal and I'm in student view. So I'm just going to quickly kind of show this to everyone what it looks like and how this was able to provide that solution to Erin's course. So we have her cash flow budget here. The student just downloads this assignment and then they're going to be able to open it up in Excel. And so I went ahead and started filling in the first couple of columns here so that we could see the grading take place as well. So I'll just go ahead and actually, oops, too far. We'll fill that in across the top and, just like one of these expenses. So you can see the students interacting with Excel like they would in real world, like for their actual Shopify business, they're going to need to have a budget and they'll be able to take what they're doing in this class and apply that to their own Shopify. So they can save this, and we're going to get a bad score because we didn't complete much of it, but they come back to the portal to submit it. And then they hit submit, and it takes just a few seconds, and that quickly tells them that it's been graded, and we received a score of 13, which being an educator is very sad. I hate seeing a score of 13, but the student then comes back in and they can download their submission. And so it's really great because they now have instant feedback. And I know from my classroom, when students had to wait a week to get feedback on content like this, they probably didn't look at the feedback I gave them, but also, like they had moved on and they needed to focus on other things. So let's open up this feedback so that we can look at that as well and so quickly see like, okay, we started off on the right area, but there's more work to be done here, and it's highlighted red for us to see. And there's also this student score report with some feedback telling the student, check the startup costs, it's in the monthly expenses, and they can come back and look at this and continue working on their assignment. And then if Erin allows, they can come back and submit it again and see how they've improved and continue to do that and get that feedback from Erin and receive it instantly. So I just wanted to quickly demonstrate that, and I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen unless, Erin, is there anything else you want me to demonstrate while we're here?
No, I think that's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so now that we've done that, I think that, I mean, that was kind of, we just want everyone to see the portal as well. So Erin, is there anything else that you want to add or to kind of conclude before we take it to Q&A?
No, I think I've shared everything. I think the only thing is, I'll be piloting the course for the first time in spring. So I have 2 attempts on there. We tend to do that with our homework in the McGraw-Hill Connect platform for our other courses. So I will be piloting to see if, 2 is enough or maybe 3, because again, the goal is really to teach how you create a budget, not necessarily penalize for not doing it correctly. And so we'll go from there. But other than that, no, I think that's it.
Okay, great. Well, again, Erin, thank you for your time of hopping on and sharing kind of your experience and what you're doing with education. We'll now open it up to the audience, and you're welcome to put your questions in the chat. Or I think if you would like to unmute and like speak out loud, if you want to raise your hand, our team can unmute you and give you a chance to speak. And while they're doing that, Erin, if you want to look at the quiz results, if there's anything you wanted to kind of touch on with that.
I'll just call out the poll results. So it looks like the top 50% said that automating the grading process for Excel assignments is their biggest issue. So that's great for ExPrep because that's what you do. And then next, 25% creating templates that work for all student skill levels. Next, it's tied. 13% is ensuring students understand the fundamentals of Excel, and 13% finding effective ways to teach Excel online. So.
All right, I'm trying to. Oh, it looks like we have somebody raising their hands. Let me see if I can unmute you. Um, Edna, can you unmute Enrique? It's not letting me.
Enrique, you should be able to speak now.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can.
Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, I think it was Aaron didn't want me to talk. No, just
No,
kidding.
it was not.
But anyways, no, the question I had was, I noticed you provide a score, right? for the Excel sheet. Any other feedback that's provided to the student? Is that just
Yes.
go ahead?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, was that the entire question? Is there additional feedback?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So on the student score report, and I can pull it back up if you would like to see it. Maybe. Let me share my screen again. Okay. Can everyone see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the one level of feedback is just obviously the red indicating that there's mistakes here, but there's also now a student score report added to the assignment that is giving feedback to the specific areas in the cell. So in this case, it's giving them like check the startup cost, but the professor they can opt to leave this to generic feedback when we're developing the grading tab that's just going to say like check your values. They can customize this. And they can even add layers. So if you want to give them, like Erin mentioned, giving students two attempts, the first time might say something more generic, and then the second time might say, here's a link to my video where I've walked through a similar problem, or whatever fits for your students and your needs. So the layers of feedback can grow and become more robust with each attempt.
Okay, because then what I'm thinking about is like something like this, like a worksheet, is where you can even provide. What I would want to see is like actually the answer key, right? Where it actually has um the values that should have been put in there. So like, the solution, right?
Yep.
Unless it's an assignment where you're telling the student, hey, develop your own personal budget, right? They put in their own values and but if it's not like that, then um,
This
so
Enrique would be like the McGraw-Hill homework. Check my the submission attempts on the homework where it doesn't tell them what the answer is, but it gives them another try and it gives them hints about where they missed the
yeah, that's
problem.
like check my work,
Yeah, but it's also when we do multiple attempt submissions.
right?
Yeah, so that was why I was mimicking that because we want them to go back and try to work towards. Yes, they don't know what they're working towards. Like that's true, but go back at least and know where they're off. And it can be tweaked, right? So there's always that pilot period of figuring out what's working or not in that first semester of the course.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep. And just to clarify, Enrique, what we do is highly customized to every professor and their style. So if you tell us, I'm not giving them multiple attempts, I just need them to know the correct answers so that we can move on, then your feedback could be, this is 500, this is blank, this is, whatever. And that it could be just the answer key is what you've given them in the feedback rather than a feedback that allows them to continue practicing. So it's completely up to you as the professor.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think the other thing too is, this is a very basic assignment in a, kind of introductory course that hopefully would convince people to like continue on in accounting, the power of accounting to not just for managing your side hustles, but you can go work with entrepreneurs. There's accounting departments in every company. But as you progress, you can customize on a very robust level, similar to what our publisher has done in many of the assignments with multi-level tiers and whatnot. So I think, what we're showing is, or for this assignment, is a basic cash budget, but you can do a lot more. And I don't know, Tanae, if you want to talk about that, because for me, I'm going to keep going, but it's like this is where I was starting for this course, but you have a lot more functionality at a higher level.
Yeah, and that is a great point, Erin. Our capabilities of what we're able to grade for are very robust. And so in this particular assignment, it is a basic cash flow budget, like you said. So we're really looking for budgeting or just value of like, did they actually get the right values in here? And so it's that very basic level. But we can go a lot deeper than that. So we can look at, did they use cell referencing? Did they use a sum function? So we can start to get deeper and say, not only did they do the right thing, but now are they demonstrating an Excel skill? And then it continues to just dive even further and further than that. So, excuse me. Can they use things like, did they use the accounting format and apply that accordingly? Did they use a top and double bottom line where you need them to? So we can look into the formatting, we can look into the use of freeze panes, into data tables, into, like just so much more. The charts, pivot tables, pivot charts, on and on and on. So yes, this assignment really is just kind of brushing the surface of we can automate your Excel grading. But then if you are interested in like really what are our capabilities, we'd love to chat with you and look at your assignment and see if we can solve the problem that you have.
Yeah, and I think along those lines, we had discussions, when I was creating the assignment with Tanae and her team about, are we going to test the sum function or are we going to not test, Excel functions with this assignment? And ultimately I decided not to test Excel functions, even though obviously as an accountant we're in Excel all day. We love Excel, or at least I do. But this course wasn't meant to teach Excel. Could it have been layered in? Yes. And even though these are basic functions, but I think that a lot of times what happens in our courses is when we deviate to teach something else that's not in the learning outcome of the course, we can get caught up on teaching the function and lose sight of the fact that I was trying to teach you to create a budget, right? And then we can get into that conflict. And so, again, I can pilot in spring, see how it goes, and then go from there. But what we did was in the template provided the sum already in there, so it would auto sum for them. We didn't require that they put the formula in for a couple lines. So that's something too, but that's customizable. So
And something I'll just add to that, Erin, while we're waiting to see if anybody else has questions. When I was teaching accounting, I constantly struggled with that of I wanted students to understand Excel, and I thought that was like an employable skill that industry was demanding of me, but I also needed to teach them the accounting. And so I was constantly struggling with that. But another thing that ExPrep offered to my classroom was Excel training content. And so my students were able to learn Excel alongside applying it inside of our accounting courses. And so that was really helpful to me.
yeah.
All right. You have anything else you want to just randomly share, Erin, while we're waiting to see if any questions come in? I'll keep
Um,
watching the Q&A.
yeah, I mean, not really. I'm just working on finishing this course. I think the next course I'll do, probably tie in your team, is accounting for e-commerce. So specifically looking to tailor the course to, Shopify, Etsy, Amazon, and Walmart store owners, because again, a lot of students are really interested in that. And then probably building an additional Excel component into that course. I do see we have a question from Robert though.
What else do you offer apart from the cash flow? What else do you allow us to do with the Excel?
Sorry, are you asking about what is Erin offering in her class, or are you asking what XPrep can offer?
What ExPrep can offer? What else in the, let's say, for you're talking about mostly an entrepreneur course, right? What I'm looking to see what you have for the regular accounting courses.
Yep, so we can customize the grading for any assignment that is put inside of Excel. So I mean, we have professors that do an accounting cycle project and we grade, everything from the journal entries and then posting the T accounts and then like through the entire flow of the whole accounting cycle. I did an entire master budget assignment in my class that Excel graded. And then of course we also work with professors in different areas. So finance and all around. So if you have an assignment that you've created in Excel, most likely we're going to be able to grade it at least a significant portion of it. There might, I don't know, we always run into instances where people do something, but as far as accounting goes, if it's in Excel, I'm very confident we'll be able to grade it for you, Robert.
Okay. The other thing I'm concerned about is that most of the accounting learning these days and involvement with technology is basically focused on the higher level accounting courses, number one, and also the higher level entrepreneurship businesses. But nobody's really focusing on the small businesses and the sole proprietors and the smaller businesses. So I was wondering if you had anything that would be focused on a small business, the complete package, for example, using the Excel to do the complete accounting system.
Yes. So our system is going to automate the grading for the professor's assignment. So if you've created the assignment in Excel, whether that's geared towards small business or corporate or whatever it might be, then we can provide the grading customization and automation that happens behind it. And so it is very fitting for any type of scenario, from entrepreneurship and small business all the way up through corporate, like huge financial analysis and financial modeling.
Okay,
Yep.
so you don't have any models right now to show us as to what you have for these areas, do you?
No, I don't have one to present today, but if you want to, somebody from our team can reach out and schedule a call with you, and we'd be happy to look at other assignments with you and look at your assignments and how we could customize those.
Because I'm working actually right now on a sort of a comprehensive system for developing accounting, adding accounting transactions and making a complete cycle.
Are you talking about an entrepreneur who would manage their entire accounting business in Excel?
Right, yes, because thinking about things like QuickBooks and so, they're getting so expensive and they're getting so comprehensive and so convoluted that they're getting too difficult for the typical beginning entrepreneur. And people who have, say, small businesses that are individually owned. So that's what I'm trying to focus on these days to make sure that there's some involvement in the lower class areas and the lower intensity operations.
So, Robert, on those assignments, are you creating the content for to support these courses?
Well, the content right now has to be mimicked as you in your examples there. That's the only thing I can do these days is to mimic assignments. I was hoping that AI features these days will make it easier. And I was about to ask you that question also. What are you doing in the AI arena that will make it easier to use Excel?
Okay. So we don't do content development. Um, just for the record, what we do is co customization of content that professors have developed themselves. And so that's like our bread and butter, but we're happy to have a conversation with you and talk about what options are available and to see if there is an opportunity to create content that like in coordination where you're creating content and we're helping figure out the automation and do that in coordination so that it is the end product is perfect and is what you're looking for. And then we could also, in that conversation with you, talk about ways that you might use AI to assist that process of the content creation.
You see, okay, I've been teaching, for example, for a long time, QuickBooks and accounting courses also. And the difficulty is that you can't really teach these courses unless you have a lot of content because the students have to see the reality, what the real accounting system looks like. They're learning it very slowly. And by the time the semester is ended, they still don't have the full concept because there's no content generated except for the few data entries they made. So, there's no real exposure. So I was really hoping to see today something that has a content base that one can use to expand and teach their courses to make
I
students
can,
understand more comprehensively and quickly.
yeah, so I can jump in on, again, everybody who's creating stuff, but based on my experience as a CPA practice owner who serves the small business community, and what I see, and then also as an educator teaching accounting, the that QuickBooks and Xero are absolutely adopted across the board at scale because of the need to integrate data and technology from multiple systems. Most if you even think about the Shopify store owner or the Etsy store owner, you're talking about, point of sale systems and multiple channels and aggregating that data into another system. So while that could exist in an Excel model, it would be more cumbersome to do it that way than to use the systems and teach the integration, which is what the course I'm teaching is trying to do. I do see like where you could just do it in Excel to manage a very small business, and some clients do use Excel or Google Sheets to do that. But if you are doing any kind of business beyond, anymore, I don't even know because of sales tax issues and things that have come up that require data calculators to monitor your nexus in multiple areas, even within your own state. So I think it's challenging to manage a business in Excel. I try to transition people to QuickBooks or Xero, or FreshBooks or another system. And then the other piece is, you can always develop your approach, but I did, do videos and multiple exercises with QuickBooks and Xero showing people with clickable demos and videos how to do things. The challenge with validating or having an automated graded assignment like with QuickBooks is there really was no provider. There's one provider doing something out of the UK and she was building into the API for QuickBooks, but it was really a bad user interface experience that would have caused a lot of problems on the instructor side. And then QuickBooks now is coming out with their own sort of university curriculum, which is so, but it's not embeddable, or it's really hard to work with. And so it does end up being that you are teaching how to do something without the ability to validate. And so that is still an issue, because they haven't, and we've worked with the QuickBooks team for 4 years trying to get their team to give us assignments. And they said they wouldn't get product engineering time, maybe something ExPrep can think about, right? We can work together on that. But they wouldn't develop, they didn't have budget for their product engineering to develop those assignments. And then they started creating their own academy for their sort of QuickBooks Live pipeline program. So yeah, so it is a gap that exists, and really what you're getting is probably what you already have. I'd say what I've developed is like a better version of what McGraw-Hill and the others are giving, because it's kind of outdated, and but yeah, there's no validation.
Okay. Could
Yep.
you show me in the model that you just demonstrated? Could you go back and show me in your model the student side? I don't think I saw that clearly. I just saw you're talking about the grading side. Could I see the student side? Could you show me how they enter data, for example, and what they're required to do?
Sorry, I was still muted. Let me share my screen again. Erin, do you want me to drive or do you want to?
Yeah,
Since
yeah.
it's
Go ahead and drive. Yeah.
Okay. So in this particular assignment, let me clear this out because we have some content already there.
Oh,
Erin has,
sorry to cut you off today. I think it's like, as a student would come in and then they would access this. Could you go through that flow?
yep, so
Again.
back from the
Okay.
portal.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So the student comes into the ExPrep portal and then they have access to their assignment. So when they click on the assignment, it downloads the Excel file to their computer and they're able to access it in Excel. And so then when they open Excel, Erin has given them startup costs and units of sales by month. And then she's given them the template for their cash flow budget where they need to actually come in and start cell referencing here. And oh, wow, went way too far. Filling in the answers. And so they're going to be using, ideally, I think they're going to be using Excel and saying equals the number of sales times 16 and then filling that across. But in this particular case, Erin said she's okay with them hard coding. If they're not going to be using Excel, that's okay with her. So they're completing this entire assignment and looking back and in Erin's LMS, there's, I'm assuming, additional information that's leading them up
Yes.
to this point in video supplemental materials and things. And so then they're coming in here and demonstrating that they can go identify costs and plug them back into this cash flow and build out their entire cash flow budget. And then they're returning it back to the portal to get the grading and the feedback. Do you want
So
to expand on that,
where are they
Erin?
getting this data from?
So the first tab, but then also I authored my course on LMS, and so within there I built a web page and videos that introduce the company, which is called Root and Fabric. It's a sustainable Shopify store. It gives a little bit about a founder. It's a web page that's designed and then it has embeddable videos and other clickable links. So it's kind of like, here's the business you're going to be working on, and then you're going to be building this cash flow budget, and then it opens to the XPrep system for them to go build it. But I do give a lot of the parameters, so you could do something similar in Canvas. They do integrate with Canvas, but I'm hosting all of my content, probably because, Robert, kind of what you're getting at, which is the same problem we have, is Canvas doesn't really give me the tools I need to develop courses in the way I want. So I published on a separate system with multiple systems integrated. Again, I feel like I'm a digital author. I like digital tools, and I want to author with the digital tools that I feel are best to teach the way I want to teach and deliver the content. And so I think anyone can kind of pick and choose their tools, but yes, you kind of have to either build within your LMS that the university provides, or go out and find your own. But you can always do the Excel piece standalone, integrated with Canvas, anytime, just directly with XPrep. You could build out like a web page within Canvas with the assignment materials. Personally, my opinion is, again, just that students today are wanting a TikTokified, really cool experience, and that's not gonna, Canvas has such limited functionality to be able to engage and retain. When I say we're competing for attention, right, we're competing with social media, we're competing with everything, and like it's not competitive. So I think what the other platforms that are out there where you can author your, digitally author and self-publish, allow you to be more competitive and retain the attention and engagement.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Erin, is the type of course that Robert was asking about, is that something you see StackerU adding to your offerings in the future?
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I think, because the QuickBooks team is in California and I do work with them at Intuit, now that they've developed more material, there's potential for integration. And I've been talking to the Zero team about the same thing because to get the legal rights, they wanted me to get certified. Fine. So I got certified in Zero. And now it's like, you get extra materials and whatnot, but they do have a lot. And now they're allowing me to bring more into the course. And they're also building out on their end sort of the assessment piece. So I think there's going to be more of an opportunity in the future to collaborate, but you can kind of see that they're, building more of this content now. It didn't exist even 4 years ago. Like the Intuit team had nothing. So yeah, we'll see. And definitely like maybe, like the UK lady that I was in touch with who was doing the Excel API kind of tried to validate, that might come further to where it actually does make sense and it's, not a clunky experience for the student and the instructor. So we'll see.
Great. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions, but we'll stick around for a few more minutes so that if anybody does have a question, feel free to ask. But otherwise, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it and look forward to working with all of you in the future in some innovative way, I hope.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Looks like we still have Robert and John on. Do either of you have a question that Erin could answer or possibly myself? Go ahead, Robert. Well, I don't know. I think you have talking
Just
permission.
wondering about the contact information. You're gonna leave us your contact information, right?
For the ExPrep team or for Erin or for both?
Well, anybody who is interested, because I'd like to get some of the questions answered.
Yes. So we will be sending an email follow-up to all of the attendees,
Okay,
and so we'll include contact information as well as the video recording in at that point. And
okay,
I believe that a member of our team might have already emailed you just to follow up. So
okay. Because I'm really, really concerned because as I said, I was hoping to see more. We need the content, not that we don't want students generating. I don't want students content generate all this content because they're not learning that way. If I have content in the systems, that would be a better thing to have the whole thing done and set up for them and they see how it operates and then they learn. That inspires them, motivates them.
Could you
okay.
elaborate on when you say the content in the systems? You're meaning like preloaded into QuickBooks as an export, or what are you referring to?
The transactions flow, actually seeing what's happening. For example, even the basic journal entry systems. You're talking these things on the board, but you're doing one entry at a time, and that's crazy.
So I think it kind of gets back to what we're saying. Like we do teach that at least at our college in the principles and managerial courses. We're teaching the journal entries. What we're not teaching is what it looks like in a system. So that there's that gap, right? Because the technology piece isn't there to visualize what we're teaching, but you're getting the journal entry side in those courses. And in this course, you're not getting the journal entry side because it was tailored to entrepreneurs who don't need to understand or become an accountant, but need to know enough to manage their books and come up with a budget. Most entrepreneurs are working, they're going to start managing a little bit themselves, and I do teach that in the course, but they don't need to know journal entries, and they don't need to know a lot of that because they're either going to work with a bookkeeper or CPA, and they're going to kind of manage a lot themselves. And that's something I've been teaching for a long time to entrepreneur clients. So I think it's, what does the student need to know? What's the goal of the course? So the goal of the course here is for entrepreneurs to be able to manage their accounting. But in our principles courses, yeah, gap filling with technology would be nice. And with the platform, I can do that because I'm able to take the modular pieces, produce the content, and then wrap them around my financials course, so students can visualize the journal entry I just taught in a system. But yeah, that was kind of going back to like, this is what we were asking the Intuit team for a while. Was, hey, we need to have a system to not just teach this Excel exercise, but then go do it in the book the journal entry in the QuickBooks system, run the report. And part of it too, just sharing a lot here, but was that the QuickBooks team didn't have the ability with the free.edu account to clear out the preloaded data, because each time you do a new assignment like investments, or you're doing a bond, you need to clear out everything from before, and there was no like clearing functionality, so you could just build modular content effectively. And so you had to really think like from chapter 1 through 25 for us, for our accounting 1 and 2 courses, every single assignment you'd have to think holistically about what the domino impact was, and that's just too much to do. Like, you need to just modularize one assignment at a time with the system to visualize. And I could also say we tried working with SAP, and they have a program that you could go to where you can do their university training, but the same thing came up with the SAP training, that you could reach out. There's someone at Houston Community College that's teaching the SAP course, but what she told me when I flew to, it's in Milwaukee, there's a week, you go to, you meet with all the faculty, is that SAP's not, this is kind of the gap, right? Again, ExPrep, this is the gap, that the technology companies are just sort of leaving the like publishing pieces of creating content on the faculty, and it's too much of a burden to do. So what she had told me is they had this sandbox environment where you got, like, I think it was 6 months behind the real SAP environment, and they had some PDFs and books that faculty had published and put into the SAP university environment. But the problem was, I came back from this training, we wrote the curriculum for the course, we download everything, and I'm like, you have to be kind of like I am right now on Stacker. You have to be the publisher and the teacher, and we're not paid to publish, and we don't get release time. And so it became an issue. Like, we tried to get stipends, this, that, but also the PDFs they're giving you, or the ebooks, they're not updating. So what the Houston instructor told me is, you could be standing in class and they updated it overnight, didn't give you any warning, and you're standing up there and you kind of look like an idiot. And nobody wants to look like they're not an expert when it's just a lack of coordination. And so that became hard to also, because SAP has the highest market share on the ERP side, which is why we're like, well, let's teach that. That became a gap. And so this is a gap for the accounting, is between technology and with the application, and then the journal entries we're teaching in the classroom.
Got it. Thank
Yeah,
you very
maybe
much.
today we could work together.
Yeah.
There is a need, yes.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have for today. So we'll go ahead and end this call, and we'll be sending out a follow up with everyone with a recording, and I think we already dropped the LinkedIn for both Erin and for ExPrep. So you're welcome to connect with us again in that way as well. Thank you.
Thanks.